It's been over 100 years since the Rinkin sisters were hanged by the Corpus Christi townfolk for not practicing Alara. Now, there are those who say that on Halloween night, a black cat still guards the old Rinkin X-ray department, warning off any who might make the witches come back to life.
I put a spell on you, and now you're gone. My whammy fell on you, and it was strong. Your wretched little lives have all been cursed 'cause of all the witches working. And the worst, I put a spell on you, and now you're mine.
Alrighty, so we're going to learn about the H&D characteristic curve. This is the optical density relative to the log relative exposure. The x-axis is the log relative exposure, the y-axis is your optical density. Your optical density is your degree of blackening. What we have here is our dead man's toe.
Nose. Dead man's toes! She's trying to concentrate now.
And then our dead man's shoulder region. What that is the diagnostic density range of 0.25 to 2.5. The 0.25 area is lighter and the 2.5 area is darker. As you can tell by this little scale that I have, the shoulder is darker, the toe is lighter. Then we have below that is our base plus fog, which is 0.1 to 0.3. The base is inherent in the base of the film, and the fog is the development of the silver grains. It presents no useful information and reduces your contrast. Then we also have latitude, which is our overall range of exposures within which the IR responds with your optical density. And now we come to our curves, our slopes. The steeper the slope, the higher the contrast, which is short scale and more black and whites. And then you have a less steeper slope, which is lower contrast, your long scale, which is more grays. So I'm going to take a picture of a hand for the x-ray. I'm going to demonstrate optical density, which is the darkening on the film. And that, you're going to give too much mass. So I'll show you how it looks after we take the image. Of course, it's the right hand, got my right marker, 40 SID. That's all going to stay the same. Just the thing that's going to change is how much mass you're giving the patient. This one is going to demonstrate in the shoulder region higher than the shoulder region, 65 kV at 12.5 mass, which is not normal for a hand. The first one we did was way too dark. Now we're going to do in the middle, which you should normally use for a patient, 60 kVp at 2 mass, which should give you adequate density. So this is going to be really low, should be in the toe region of the characteristic curve with low optical density, 60 kV at 0.5 mass, which you should never use for a hand because that's way too low, you won't penetrate enough, but we're going to see how it looks. Okay, so this first one right here is when you use too much mass. As you can tell, the optical density is really dark. This is probably way above the shoulder region, which is more darker. The middle one, this is what you would normally use 60 at 2 for a normal patient. As you can tell, you can see the bony trabeculae. Everything looks good. And then this next one is whenever you don't give it enough mass. You can see it's kind of grainy, and of course, it's white. It's not dark enough, so there's not a lot of optical density going on here. Okay, so well, back in the old days, this is how film used to be processed instead of digital through a computer. So I got my latent image on this film. First, I'm gonna put it in the wetting, which swells the emulsion, gets ready for developing. And then I'm gonna put it in my developer, which makes my latent image become a visible image. And then I put it in my stop bath, which stops the developing. And then I put it in my fixer, which removes those excess silver halide crystals. And then I will put it in my wash, which removes any excess chemicals. And then I gotta dry it off. And I gotta
So, I'm going to set up an x-ray of this hand that we chopped off one of our victims. Their bodies stacking up in the corner. I'm going to set up and I'm going to demonstrate the difference between a long OID and a minimal OID and how it affects magnification of the anatomical part that you're x-raying. So I have my cassette here because extremities are tabletop. So I have my cassette aligned with my crosshairs. I got my dead man's hand. We're just gonna position that. Make sure it's all perfect for the radiologist. Slap a left marker on there. And by left marker, I meant slap your right marker on for the right hand. And I have my technique at 60 at 2. With a 40-inch SID. And a 0 OID. So let's take that image. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, now we're taking an x-ray of the right hand with about an 1.5 OID. So we can demonstrate exactly how an increased OID can affect your magnification of the anatomical part that you're x-raying. Don't forget your right marker. All right, let's see what that looks like. Next, we're gonna demonstrate what a really dramatic OID would make it look like after the fact. So we're just gonna throw this on the cassette, throw our hand right in the middle, and although it looks like it's not gonna x-ray within the whole hand because the light is small, remember, divergence. Keyword. Throw your right marker on there. Let's take the image. So now we're processing the x-ray of the hand with 0 OID. And I'm processing the x-ray we took of the hand with an 1.5 OID to see the difference. Now we're going to process the x-ray of the hand with a very dramatic OID so we can really see the difference. So, moving on to distortion, I'm going to demonstrate what each of my markers looks like with one being distorted. I'm going to place it on this stair sponge at an angle so we can see how it really distorts with the letters. And the other one is just going to be flat, no distortion, no OID, just regular, so we can really tell the difference and compare. So the right marker I'm putting just flat. The other marker I'm putting at an angle just like this. Like that. Slight angle. We're gonna see what the difference looks like comparing the two. I'm processing the x-ray I took of my both markers, one angled, one flat, so we can see the difference in distortion. Here we have the x-ray after we processed it of my right marker, that's straight, just flat on the cassette. My left marker is at an angle on the stair sponge, and you can tell it looks a little bit squished, it's a little bit distorted, doesn't look the same like the right marker does, so distortion. Distortion.
So if you have a thin witch, they attenuate less x-rays, so they require less magic or technique. But if you have a thick witch, they attenuate more x-rays, producing more scatter, so you need a higher technique or more magic.
Shane, get in my belly!